Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
To Accelerated Health Radio. I'm your host, Sarah Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. I believe that your body does want to and is capable of rebuilding and healing itself regardless what chronic disease you may have. I'm here for you to answer your questions and bring you innovative and cutting-edge technologies and health solutions to empower you and your ability to reach your optimal state of health. Today, my guest is going to be talking about diet and exercise, gaining and losing weight, and how they relate to your physical, mental, and spiritual health. And I know better than anyone that you really need that strong physical foundation to work on your mental growth, whether it's overcoming anxiety and depression, losing weight, or detoxing your body in the proper way. You need that strong physical foundation of health in order to gain the willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find my health articles, my cutting-edge natural supplements, and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. I dive into an array of health conditions, their causes and symptoms, and how to address them naturally. I have spent thousands of dollars and hours of my time biohacking different supplements and diets that don't work, so you don't have to. If you have any health issues you need help with, and you can email me directly through the website. I personally read every one. Accelerated Health Products is the sponsor of this show. So as you support my website, I'm able to bring you more cutting edge content and guests to the show. Now that we are officially in fall, whether you're worried about COVID or not, it is the usual cold and flu season. It is really important to take care of yourself and boost your immune system. And my guest is going to be talking about diet and how important it is for your immune system. But I wanted to mention my trio of supplements that is the best arsenal for boosting your immune system and fighting off all cold and flu bugs, whichever one they are. Number one is the MyVital C. This is a compound called ESS60. It is not vitamin C. It's been proven to be highly effective at addressing one of the most stubborn viruses that humanity has ever encountered, that being HIV. For a long time, there was no known cure for HIV, and MyVital C is now having virus-killing properties, so it has been patented as a treatment for HIV. So not only does it reduce the infections caused by HIV, but it directly inhibits the reproduction of the virus. Viruses normally cause disease in the human body by taking over the cells of the body and replicating until it overwhelms the immune system. So typically, as a young and healthy person has an immune system that can overcome most common viruses, such as the common cold and influenza, the elderly can't. This is why the patent of ESS60 or MyVital C to treat HIV is such an amazing advancement. And unlike the pharmaceuticals, it doesn't have any harmful effects. So while it's a step of inference to say it could be used to treat other illnesses, we do know that regular use of it can improve your immune system. It's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. And additionally, it's known as a natural antibiotic, and it can improve sleep, and it's essential for a strong immune system. The best part, it doubles lifespan. Yes, it literally doubles lifespan. I had my telomeres tested, and my age has literally gone backwards at least 6 years over the last year of using MyVital C. The second supplement is accelerated iodine. This is the wild card in supporting the immune system. It's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, antioxidant, anti-allergenic, antihistamine. I could go on and on and on. And it also performs the function known as healthy apoptosis. This is the natural death of traumatized and unhealthy cells in the body. There is no pathogen known resistant to iodine. And iodine was used to protect people from the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic that killed over 30 million people. People don't know that. All of the immune boosting benefits are in addition to the basic function of iodine's key role for the metabolism in the thyroid, the key to the endocrine gland for the immune system. The thyroid produces T4, and 4 stands for 4 iodine atoms. And without the iodine, the thyroid is unable to produce the T4, and that's necessary for the immune system. And lastly, but this is my golden supplement, accelerated scalar silver. Not only does accelerated silver have an alkaline pH of 8.0, which no other silver does, it creates an environment that foreign pathogens may not be able to survive in. It's also programmed with bioinformational scalar technology to further help strengthen the immune system and devitalize foreign pathogens, including viruses and bacteria. We use microclustered water technology to lower the surface tension, which increases the absorption as well. No other silver company does this. I also want to mention that I have teamed up with Drew Manning from Fit to Fat to Fit, as seen on the Dr. Oz show and the Jay Leno show, to give away his Keto Kickstart program and my Accelerated Power Bundle, which is a value of almost $800. And the last date to do it is September 30th. So definitely check that out. You get coaching with Drew Manning. You get the Accelerated Silver, the Accelerated Iodine, my Accelerated Keto. And this is the most comprehensive keto supplement that not only kicks you into ketosis within 30 minutes, but gives you sustained physical and mental energy for up to 12 hours and improves your liver health as well. Above and beyond any other ketone supplement, this defats your liver and increases ATP production in the cells, which increases fat burning. And then lastly, you get the accelerated ancient salt that tastes amazing. And it also is enhanced with scalar technology to help detox you from those heavy metals and the toxins that are in your body. So now to the good stuff. Dr. Lori Shemek, she's well known as a pioneer in creating global awareness of low-level inflammation and how it's the underlying cause of most illness, disease, faster aging, and weight gain. She has been sending out the message about inflammation long before it was a buzzword. She's uncovered the pathway to the core cause of weight, inflamed cells, and not only promoting unwanted excess weight gain and belly fat, but poor health as well. She's the award-winning best-selling author of How to Fight FATflammation, The Ketogenic Key, The Beginner's Guide to Intermittent Fasting, and Fire Up Your Fat Burn. Her new book goes beyond the ketogenic diet and teaches you the 4 techniques of the ketogenic key lifestyles to successfully achieve and maintain ketosis. Ketosis is the key to unlocking the benefits of your health, energy level, physical performance, and well-being. Welcome back, Lori. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Sarah. So great to see you instead of just
I know.
Me.
Well, we had our last interview was just radio, no video, and that was a couple months ago. And I'm so excited to talk about your new book. And, you know, I talk a lot about diet and health and ketogenic, the ketogenic way. And sometimes I get into real details. So I know a lot of listeners have heard the buzzword keto. Why don't we just talk Keto 101 for those who are new to it, who've heard it, but don't really understand it?
Sure, yes. So when you decide that you may want to go on a ketogenic diet, it is a very low carb diet. Unlike what you may have heard, it's a low carb. No, it's very low carb. So that means you're 50 grams or under, ideally 25 grams or under a day. And that's just very dramatic for a lot of people because the average American ingests 300 grams of carbs a day. So the ketogenic diet means that because you're reducing your carb load so low that your body is forced to use its own fat stores for fuel or dietary fat for fuel. And this process is wonderful. It's called ketosis. The liver makes ketones from the fat in your body and dietary fat. And these ketones have 38%, generate 38% more ATP than glucose, which is from carbohydrates. So that's why so many people feel so good on a ketogenic diet, and they have energy to burn, literally, and are and experience a multitude of health benefits, not just with weight loss and balancing hormones, reducing appetite, but with chronic diseases, autoimmune disease. And it's very protective in terms of longevity. It helps promote longevity, and we can get into all of that. But suffice it to say that the ketogenic diet, even though it is a very low carb diet, is challenging for a lot of people until you arrive at being metabolically flexible. And when that happens, then you're just loving the diet itself.
Let's touch back on ATP. Can you describe, because this is such a huge point that not many people really go into, and it's hard for people to understand the fact that when you're running on glucose, you're not producing as much ATP as when you're in ketosis. What does that mean?
So what happens in our cells, we have these tiny little organelles called our mitochondria. They may sound familiar to you from high school biology, and they are crucial, the health of them and the number of them, in order for us to thrive and live a long life with optimal health. So these mitochondria generate ATP, which is literally the currency, the energy that we need in order to live. Without ATP, we would not be alive, right? So these mitochondria, we need them to be healthy. We need them we need a lot of them. And unfortunately, as we get older, these mitochondria just naturally begin to dwindle. Their health begins to dwindle as well. And that's why you see elderly people that are so frail and tired all the time and emaciated because their mitochondria, they have very few, essentially have dwindled. So what we want to do, and what the ketogenic diet does, is it promotes more mitochondria in the cell throughout the body. And that's very important because we have a lot of them in our heart, we have a lot in our muscle. And again, ATP is crucial. So ketones provide, again, 38% more energy than, say, glucose.
It's so important because, and it's something that when you first get into ketosis, you're like, why do I feel so great? Why is my energy so good? And I'm there, and I will be fasting in the morning, feeling great energy physically and mentally. And I'll be with somebody like my dad, who is fully addicted to sugar and running on glucose all the time. And yeah, he's constantly thinking about his next meal, and it's got to be in 2 hours. And most of my family is all ketogenic, and the kids will be sitting there going, "Didn't he just eat? Didn't he just eat?" But it's constantly because the body is craving that sugar, and it doesn't know how to tap into those fat stores. And the metabolic flexibility, as you're touching on, is so freeing. And that's one thing that I really struggle with, is when people say, well, you're so limited with your diet. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe my diet is all over here in one place, but the rest of my life is so free because I have all this extra time that I'm doing the things that I love, and I'm not worried about food, and my brain feels good, and I'm not anxious, I'm not depressed. I have great physical energy to go do the things with the people I love. And I'm not tied down to the schedule of eating all day long. So that is something I wanted to touch on. And what can you mention that?
A really important point, to just, in addition to what you said, is that when you when you have ketones for energy, your blood sugar isn't spiking and dropping constantly. It stays stable. That's why you, Sarah, have so much energy throughout the day, in part because what happens is glucose is really an inefficient form of fuel because it doesn't last long, and it provides a really poor type of, byproducts, if you will, in the machination of it, so of the metabolizing of it. So ketones are like an electric car, if you will, where they burn really clean, right? And this glucose is like a gas power car, which produces a lot of oxidative stress on the cell and other byproducts. It promotes just a lot of problems within the body itself, inflammation for one. And so I just wanted to let your listeners know that it's really a beneficial form of fuel.
And that is something I stress as well, because people say, well, do I need my green drinks? Do I need all my antioxidants? And well, you need them a little bit, but your body doesn't need them as much when you're ketosis, because you're not producing that oxidative stress that you are when you're running on glucose. And so without the oxidative stress, you don't need the antioxidants. And the reality is our bodies produce most of the antioxidants we need. Not to say we don't need them, but it's just the effort to put in, because people who think they're eating healthy are starting their morning out with these big fruit smoothies with vegetables and kale, but a ton of fruit and sugar and carbs in it. And they think they're doing something good for their body. They don't know why they're not feeling good. They don't know why they're hungry an hour later, or that they can't lose the weight. Yeah, gassy. I mean, we can go into, and I'd love to touch on your thoughts on the carnivore diet at the end. We'll get to that, but let's talk about how people are doing keto wrong, because there's so many ways. I mean, you can do dirty keto, you can do clean keto. What are ways and the things to look out for when doing it wrong?
So the first thing that people need to do, if they do it right, is again to make sure that you're getting 25 grams or under. 50 grams can put you into ketosis, but if you want to go into deeper ketosis, then 25 grams or less. And so what people are not doing is they're really not tracking their carb count, right? So they think, oh, I can have nuts, I can have avocado oils and avocado and all of these wonderful, yummy foods. And inevitably, they end up eating a lot of calories. And so this is one of the problems, is overeating of healthy food, which is a real thing, actually. And so then we come upon dirty keto, which you mentioned, and I talk about it in my book. Is just eating foods that, yes, you can get into ketosis with these foods, but you're ingesting inflammatory foods in the process. So you'll be good to go for about 6 months. You'll get into ketosis and you'll be eating things like, pork rinds and hamburgers from McDonald's without the bun, and, these prepackaged foods that say keto on them, when they are doused in omega-6 fatty acids, mm-hmm. which we can talk about as well, which I think is very important to talk about. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem, because 6 months later, your body's inflamed. And all the benefits you could have had throughout are now gone. You've negated a lot of them. Yes, you've lost weight. And yes, you've gone into ketosis and have created some benefit. But think about all of the really optimal benefits you really could have if you had eaten a whole foods diet with the ketogenic diet. And so, it's just really important, just like with any food choices we make, to make sure they're anti-inflammatory always.
Yeah. And you've touched on a couple things that I've learned over the last few years being in ketosis and watching my clients struggle and be successful. And I'd have to say that men and women are different. Women definitely have a little bit tougher time. Mm-hmm. You cannot just eat almonds all day and lose weight. It doesn't work that way. And I've realized that women really have to be careful with nuts are dangerous, because they do have a little carbs in it. Yes, they're fat, but
and cheese as well. Cheese is part of it too. Yeah.
Portion control, but the omega-6s and the vegetable oils and the seed oils, these are things that can be super inflammatory and actually raise your blood sugar almost or even more than sugar itself. And this is something where people don't look at the ingredients of their salad dressings, and when they go to restaurants. Canola oil you should avoid it like the plague. But can we talk about how these oils and some of these other things can be super inflammatory to the body?
Right, just like with any food that is refined or processed, like crackers, cakes, cookies, all of these chips, these foods are unhealthy because they're refined, they're processed, they're not whole foods, and the body goes, what do I do with this stuff? So you're ingesting with the oils specifically we're talking about. Many people refer to them as seed oils when there are different names for them, like soy oil, canola oil, corn oil, vegetable oil with no vegetables in them, mind you. A lot of people think it's really healthy to ingest vegetable oil. And so like Sarah said, canola oil is horrifying. If you saw the way it was produced, it was processed, you wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. You would stay away from it. And all of these oils are processed in much the same way, very inflammatory. They have to be deodorized because they smell so badly. And the list goes on. But essentially, if you are ingesting them, and most of us are, because the food manufacturers use, for example, soy oil or canola oil in almost every product out there because they're cheap. Okay, these oils are very cheap, and they'll use anything to make a cheaper product so they have a bigger bottom line. And suffice it to say that that these inflammatory foods are not anti-inflammatory; they're just the opposite. You'll see canola oil with that big health halo, and in fact, they're dangerous. So if you did just one thing in your life to promote optimal health, it would be to get rid of these oils. But that means that you are going to have to read labels, right? Because, for example, at Whole Foods, a bag of nuts, say roasted pecans, right? They're roasted in canola oil. All of the foods at most delis use, some form of refined processed oil. Yeah. It's very challenging to find oils that are not. And so what happens is when you ingest these oils, your body, again, doesn't really know what to do with it. So inflammation occurs, and a byproduct, a compound called arachidonic acid is created. And when when arachidonic acid is stored in the fat cell, in which it will be, the fat cell doesn't know what's going on, and it doesn't like arachidonic acid. And so it begins to act as if it's sick or infected, and emits a trickle of inflammatory molecules, which then lowers your metabolism, promoting weight gain for you. That's just one thing that these oils are doing.
And those oils stay in your body, and the effects of it don't just go away the next day.
Yeah, right. That's a really good point. Yes.
They last for years. I mean, I know you have a beer one night and you feel bad the next day, but you kind of feel okay after 2 days, right? Well, these oils stay with you, and because your body doesn't know what to do with them, and they're toxins. So that's something that you do need to realize as well. And it's really hard. Even at our natural food store, I went shopping for some organic soups, and they had organic canola oil in them. And so you really have to read the labels, and it's not easy. So I put that out there, but
that's a good point, because if you see the word organic, the majority of people think, oh, it's okay. And
right,
with that halo of canola oil, though, they're like, oh. But if you know, and that knowledge is power, and if you apply that knowledge, then you're good to go.
So we're going to have to take a quick break, but there were 2 questions that came through. And number 1 was, where are the products that I mentioned in the beginning found? And that's at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. You can find me and all the supplements and the articles that I've talked about, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. And then the other question is, how do we know what will work for us? I honestly don't know anyone where the ketogenic state, I don't want to say a high fat diet doesn't work for everybody, but a ketogenic state and lowering your carbs has only benefited every single person I've ever come across. And Lori, maybe you have a different opinion, but I believe it is something that every single person should try.
Well, that's a really good point. I agree with you completely. And, we're born into a state of ketosis. So that just tells you that's our natural state to be. We're in ketosis until we're fed man-made foods
Right.
or good foods, whole foods. But yes, so it's very beneficial, as I mentioned earlier, for autoimmune disease, for, it was first started with the Charlie Foundation
Mhm.
and epilepsy. So they were seeing that those children who benefited from the ketogenic diet, their seizures would go away either completely or not often. They would be intermittent.
Yeah.
And so that's how all of the good stuff started happening. And through the years, the research is just pouring in, and it's all beneficial for the
Yeah.
ketogenic diet. And there are some drawbacks to it, but but for most people, it's really beneficial.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a short commercial break and come back and talk about inflammation.
Are you wanting to optimize your physical, mental, and emotional health? Visit www.acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Accelerated Health Products to detox, reset, and rebuild your immune system naturally, and to accelerate your body, mind, and spirit with cutting-edge supplements and solutions. Get Sarah Banta's personal advice on a protocol just right for you. That's www.acceleratedhealthproducts.com.
Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio. I'm your host, Sarah Banta, the owner of Accelerated Health Products. And today we have Dr. Lori Shemek, and we're going to talk now about inflammation. And inflammation is a big buzzword. So let's first talk about the role of inflammation in all disease.
It is the bottom line, essentially. So there's acute inflammation, and then there is silent or chronic inflammation. And acute inflammation, we all know what it is. It's that black and blue sprained ankle or that cut on the finger. And so when you cut your finger, an enormous amount of inflammatory molecules are released, and soldiers, if you will, come to the site of the wound. They repair the wound heals, the soldiers go away, the inflammation goes away, and all is well. We need it in order to live, acute inflammation. Now, silent or chronic inflammation is the core underlying cause of most illness, disease, faster aging, and weight gain. And its very name suggests danger, right? Silent. And so this type of inflammation is prevalent in 75% of our population. And people have it, they don't know they have it. And it's because of the type of diet mainly that people are eating. So this silent or chronic inflammation is the core underlying cause of diseases like heart disease and Alzheimer's disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, obesity. The list literally goes on and on and on. And as you can see, it's not a healthy state to be. So what we want to do is we want to live a life that is protective against this type of inflammation. So I highly recommend a diet like the Ketogenic Key that will stop, for example, the inflammasome NLRP3 from rearing its ugly head in your body. Literally, when you're in ketosis, you're stopping this horrible inflammasome from promoting inflammation in your body. Research shows that they can determine if you're going to gain weight 6 months before you do, simply by looking at the inflammation in your body. That's how dramatic inflammation is. And the problem is, it's like having a sore on the inside of your body that never heals because we don't know it's there. It doesn't hurt like acute inflammation is uncomfortable, and we know it's there. And like silent inflammation emits just a trickle of inflammatory molecules, where acute inflammation, if you remember, emits an enormous amount. And so this trickle, however, is 24/7, and it never goes away unless we choose to live an anti-inflammatory life.
And what people don't realize is as your body is fighting that chronic silent inflammation, it's bringing down your immune system too, which is then your body can't fight off the cold and flu bug that it's exposed to during this fall and those types of things. So it's all related. And that's why, as we're talking about COVID, they talk about people that are at high risk. Well, why are they at high risk? Because they have some chronic silent inflammation, diet related thing going on in their body that is making their immune system work hard over here, and they're getting hit over here by the cold or the flu bug. So it's all related, and you really need to boost that diet and the immune system as you're reducing the inflammation. It boosts your immune system. I'm sorry.
Right.
So
yeah, and so well said. So, there are things like these refined processed oils we talked about that are setting the body up for serious inflammation. It's a condensed dose of these oils. And the types of foods we're eating, this is part of the epidemic we're seeing across the country. And so what happens when we have this low-level inflammation is we are harming our cellular health, right? We're harming our mitochondrial health. Again, they start fading and failing. Our telomeres that Sarah alluded to early in the show, they begin to shorten. Ideally, what we want to maintain them or extend their little caps on the ends of our chromosomes. The ketogenic diet will do that. And it's just not the ketogenic diet as well. It is their ketosis is, like Sarah mentioned earlier, very important to achieve some type of ketosis, not 24/7. I don't recommend being on the ketogenic diet 24/7 either. And I talk about that in my book as well. But going in and out of ketosis is a really optimal thing for your health to do. And so intermittent fasting, we didn't get into that. Supplementation is excellent. Exercise puts you into a state of ketosis. You can do all of them together. You can do 2 of them. You can do 3. It's just whatever you feel like doing. But always knowing you're optimizing your health, your cellular health.
Well, why don't we talk about intermittent fasting? How do you recommend doing it? There's different ways to do it. People have different schedules, and then there's long-term fasting that people incorporate as well. What do you recommend?
So I recommend, first and foremost, like with the ketogenic diet, not to go all in, because most people are, again, they're addicted to carbohydrates. They ingest at an average of 300 grams of carbs a day. And so what I recommend is people do it slowly. So intermittent fasting, for those that don't know, is just periods of time without eating. You go 8 hours at night without eating, hopefully. And so that's fasting. You go into a natural state of ketosis every night if you don't get up and eat. And so what we want to do is we want to extend that window of not eating, right? So when you wake up, you ideally extend it for 1 hour for a week, and then another hour for the next week. And that gets your body adapted to being in a state of ketosis, and creating, eventually you can go 12, 14, 16, 18, 24 hours, whatever you choose for your own needs. But, what happens, one of the really good things that happens is that you flatten your glucose, you flatten your insulin, and your body then, your cells say, oh, I don't have anything to do right now, so I think I'm going to clean up the cells in the body. So this is called autophagy. It's a fancy word just for the cell cleaning, doing cellular housekeeping, if you will, house cleaning. And it gets rid of all the debris from all the machinations that are happening within the cell. And it's also cleaning up dead cells, senescent cells that tend to send out inflammatory signals, creating even more inflammation in the body, autoimmune issues. And they're also referred to as zombie cells because they just never go away. And so right now science is working on ways to get rid of these senescent cells. Once we do that, we will see not only optimal health, but an extension of lifespan, okay? Because these senescent cells cause everything from joint pain to disease to a shortened life. So that's in fact, a hallmark of aging is the accumulation of senescent cells.
Mhm.
And one good thing that ketosis will do is take care of that, help you take care of that.
It's amazing. I always tell people that you can age backwards. You do not have to.
Yes.
Chronological age does not mean biological age. And like I mentioned in the beginning, my telomeres were tested, I was 44, both biologically and chronologically. And after 6 months of incorporating some of the supplements I mentioned, and of course my ketogenic diet and being in ketosis, I had aged backwards 6 years in 6 months.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so, as I mentioned earlier, you can grow your telomeres, those little caps. They're like the little plastic caps on the ends of shoestrings, right? Those laces. Those caps protect your DNA. And without that protection, the cell then begins to either stop dividing or divides not in a healthy way, and diseases enter the picture, etc. So we want to keep those cells healthy, those telomeres healthy and long, and exercise will do it, especially high intensity interval training. Certain supplements can do that as well, like omega-3 fatty acids can help you, and it's just a really important focus if you do want to optimize your health and weight to keep those telomeres long. So yes, reversing age.
So someone just asked the question, what do you mean by aging backwards? Well, just as Lori was talking about, the telomeres is one way of seeing where your biological age is, and you can actually lengthen them. And normally we see them shorten as we age. So that is one sign. But another sign, I mean, for me, I know that my joints don't hurt. I have better brain function and physical energy than I did back at my years at Stanford in college. So I know this stuff works. My hair is not turning gray like it should be at this age. And, genetically in my family, it would be by now. My eyesight's great, not wearing glasses, 2020. And I actually have seen an improvement in my eyesight over the years, and I should have seen a deterioration. So all of these things are signs of aging backwards. If you don't have a test to actually tell you that you're aging backwards, these are just my own signs of telling me that I'm aging backwards. But Lori, I don't want to run out of time. I want to make sure we talk about ketone supplementation and where does this fit in for you? Because I personally use the accelerated keto that I have to kickstart my day and get a great fasted workout in. So I'm not eating. I wake up, I have my coffee, I have my accelerated keto. I have a great workout, regardless if I roll out of bed and can't open my eyes, or if I pop out of bed. It keeps me going, and it helps me intermittent fast till late afternoon without any problem. I have great energy physically and mentally all day long.
Yes, all of those benefits are with they're called exogenous ketones or ketone supplements. And when they first came out, people would say, "Are you kidding me? These are the most horrible thing I have ever tasted." So the science is really great now. They taste wonderful. But, they're fantastic for energy. So if you want to really do an amazing workout, drink just a delicious little drink or however you want to ingest it, of ketones, and you'll have that benefit. The Tour de France began to use ketones, and they won that year. That was 2019, I believe, 2018, I'm not sure, simply by ingesting exogenous ketones. And so, of course, word got around, now they all do it. So it's fair game. Right. But suffice it to say, it's excellent for athleticism. It's great. It gets you into ketosis in under 30 minutes. And that's a really big thing for a lot of people, because some people have trouble with the ketogenic diet getting into ketosis. But if you combine all of it, say you're doing the ketogenic diet and you want to ensure you get into ketosis quicker than waiting, say, 2 days, 3 days, some people 2 weeks or even longer. So This will help ensure that you get there. And, it's just really a remarkable product to use if you want to do it quickly and you don't want to wait and you're in it. So and the appetite control, like you mentioned, is fantastic. Yeah.
And there are some people that don't use exogenous ketones because your body's burning those instead of burning other energy. But at the same time, it's suppressing your appetite. So you're not going to eat as much during the day. And I just love the sustained energy. And then I don't have to worry about food if I don't have the time for it. And when I do then sit down and eat, I absolutely enjoy my food. And it's a whole different experience. Someone asked me if I colored my hair. So just to be totally transparent, I do highlights, but I do not color my base hair. So I have, I think, 2 gray hairs on my head, if you really want to know. Let's talk about.
I see it.
Let's talk about the role of exercise and activity. And I've always said weight loss is 80% diet and what you put in your mouth, but I need exercise for that 20%, but for the circulation, the muscle tone, the overall health, the autophagy, and also it's kicking up your state of ketosis.
Yeah. And, we are meant to move our bodies. We're meant to exercise. So if you're not, please make sure that you do, because the body is really at its healthiest when you are physically fit. Okay. And again, it's not about the weight loss that comes with everything that we're doing today. Right. But for example, muscle strength, that again, the more muscle you have, the leaner you are, the higher your metabolism is. And if you're eating enough protein, which I recommend women over 40 and or those who have belly fat to increase their protein ingestion to really help with that. And which then when you're strength training helps you to build more muscle. So muscle now is considered a longevity organ. We're seeing the research come in showing how it really benefits all of your metabolic markers, your blood glucose level, your insulin sensitivity, all of those things. There's a test, a grip strength test, and it's the ability to grip strongly is an indicator of your longevity. And can you get up from a sitting position without any assistance at all, from sitting on the floor to a standing position? That's another test that is happening with muscle mass. So you can see how important muscle is, right? That we know in 2020 that this is a key player. And so also, when you exercise, you're inducing some ketosis. Again, I mentioned high intensity interval training helps you do that. Don't let the name scare you, because you do high intensity at your ability, right? So you just go all out for a short period of time, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then go back down to a slow to moderate pace or anything, or you just stop and you repeat, say 8 times. That's high intensity interval training, and it takes just minutes to do. Excellent for health, for fat loss. And so make sure you get some strength training in, some aerobic exercise and cardio, and you're good.
And we have a couple more questions that have come in. And one is, what's the comparison between this and human growth hormone? And that's a great question, because ketosis produces human growth hormone and increases testosterone in men and balances the female hormones. I can tell you personally, I've had irregular cycles and suffered from PCOS up until I entered ketosis, and then everything balanced out. My hormones have never been more balanced, and I've seen a difference in my husband with him and his testosterone levels, and all my male clients and their human growth hormone increases. And even with children, of course, they want to grow and tall. And my son, being 18 years old, he wants muscle mass and he wants to increase his height. So to maximize your genetic disposition to be whatever your height is supposed to be and your muscle mass, you can increase the human growth hormone and the testosterone in your body through a ketogenic diet, through the exercise and all the things that Lori's talking about. And then this last question, can this work for everyone? And we touched on it a little bit, but if so, why doesn't everyone do it? And that's such a great question. So Lori, why don't you take that?
That is a good question. And that's because, as I mentioned very early on in this interview, that it's challenging for people who have lived their whole lives on over 300 grams of carbs a day to drastically cut their carb to 25 grams. You think about 25 grams of carbs, and that's nothing, right? That's just nothing. But you're getting a lot of it from non-starchy vegetables in the ketogenic diet, ideally. So, which you can eat as much as you want of, in my opinion. And so that is really the crux of it. And other than that, most people, if you're willing to do that, are successful. And I think that most people love eating fat. They love being satiated by the protein and the fat. And so you won't find many complaints from people who have gradually gone into ketosis. I recommend doing some intermittent fasting to start as slowly as I mentioned, and then saying, oh, okay, that's a great segue into the ketogenic diet.
And I totally agree. And one key thing that I found with people that are totally addicted to sugar when they start out is to do the intermittent fasting, like you're saying. And then as soon as they're hungry, have that breakfast of eggs and organic turkey or chicken sausage or something that is heavy in the protein and a little bit of fat to be very satiated. No one's binging on ribeye steak. No one's binging on eggs and omelets. And the reason you're binging on the sugar and the carbs is because in your brain, it's inducing a drug reaction like cocaine or something that is your body saying, I want more, I want more, I want more. It's not telling your brain to shut off and say, okay, I'm totally satiated.
Right.
And that happens with the fat and protein combination. So if you have that first meal, you're going to find that you won't be hungry like you are just a couple hours later. And so there's a real change in the way your body just responds to that first meal.
Yeah, it is so satiating, this way of eating. And it's not for everybody. So some people may want to turn to another way of eating, no carbs.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. Well, we're almost out of time. I want to make sure you can tell people where they can find you and where they can find this amazing book.
Thank you. Well, here's the book, in case you want to know. This is the Ketogenic Key, right? And so I really recommend, ensuring that you have everything around you that's healthy, creating a healthy environment. And that means, reading books that are geared towards that. And you can find me on my website, drloryshemek.com. And I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as Dr. Lori Shemek. And all of my books, I have 4 books, and they're all available on Amazon. Just type my name in there.
Awesome. And you still have your podcast?
And I have my podcast. Thank you. Yes. This podcast burns fat. That's the name of it.
It says it right there. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We have so much more we didn't even touch on, so we could definitely go on and we will definitely have you on again. Thanks for joining us, everybody, today. And if I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me directly at sarah@acceleratedhealthproducts.com. I'm happy to put a personalized protocol for you together. I know it's hard to know where to start at sometimes, and you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram under Accelerated Health Products, and my YouTube channel under Accelerated Health Radio. You can find this episode and all my episodes on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. I also now do Accelerated Health Bites, where I do short informational videos about health topics and solutions that you ask about. So if you have a condition or a topic you want me to address, let me know. And if you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few friends of yours who may need my help. As you share my channel, it helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests on my show like Lori. Don't miss next week's interview with Mark White. We are going to talk about mental health, the brain, cutting edge technologies for the brain, and also just the state of the world at the moment. Again, you can find the supplements and the informational videos on my website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. You can use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide. As you support Accelerated Health Products, I'm able to bring you this show and the amazing guests. Thanks for joining us here on Accelerated Health Radio, and have a great week. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.